And yesterday I think we started looking at collector and creating. We know what is a collector basically. There are 4 components in a collector. Fine. We have a supplier. Fine. See, there are 3 things which are happening. One is accumulation process, and once the things are accumulated, they need to be combined. Accumulation means you will get partial results, okay, and then they need, whatever are the accumulated things, they need to be combined. And so combining, that's another process, and whatever is the combined final thing which we get from there, we might apply a finisher function, function to get a final result from it, again convert to another form. Okay. Collector, the accumulation is done in a mutable kind of an object, and normally it might be some kind of a collection and a list in which you may it may try to first accumulate all the things, and then a finisher function would extract the things which are needed. Fine, that can also be the case. So what we need is a initial object where accumulation is to be done. So that's where we have a supplier. Fine, a supplier's role. Fine, if for any part of the stream, fine, because stream may be broken into several parts, fine, so that we can have parallel processing. Okay, so for any part, okay, you want to start a processing a part, fine, I should have an initial accumulator object where I can accumulate. So that's where we will have a supplier of the type A. A stands for my accumulator type. Okay, fine, and then we have a buy function for doing the accumulation, not buy function, a buy consumer for doing the accumulation in A. Okay, fine. In the buy consumer, the first object is always the object which is given by the supplier. It's always going to use that same object, and second will be the object from the stream. Fine, so that would be a buy consumer, which is your accumulator, and then the combiner would be a binary operator, fine, where 2 accumulated objects are available and it creates a new one. Fine. Okay, it returns a new, it's returning an object of the type A only, accumulator type only. Fine. And then whatever the final A we get by combining the results, on that we apply a finisher function to derive the final result. So that result type is not necessarily the accumulator type. Fine. Okay, but then we have this class called collectors, fine, which gives us simple methods to create collector, useful collector objects. Okay, so how to create a collector? Oh, you don't need to create those 4 kinds of objects on your own. Fine. You can use the static method in the collectors class to create the collector. Most of the scenarios will be nicely covered. Fine. So they cover most of the scenarios here. Okay. Fine. So we were looking at those methods of collectors. Yeah. So what kind of things can be there? What kind of summarization you want on a stream? So accordingly you will have a collector. Fine. Maybe it's a stream of some element type T. Fine. There's some type T, and this type has a numeric attribute. Fine. There might be some numeric attribute on which you want some kind of a statistics in the form of min, max, sum, average, or even the count. Fine. So we have methods, separate methods for each of those, and we also have single method which can give us a summary statistics object. Okay, fine. Let me list those methods. And these are mainly for statistics, right? So min, max, then count, okay, average and sum. Okay, so any of those things, I think the methods is fine. So I'll just list the methods. The parameters are always the same. Okay, say you want the int summary statistics. You want to derive the int summary statistics because you have a attribute of type int, and some int attribute is available. Fine. So you can get a collector. See, this collector would ultimately be required to be passed to the. Okay, so you want a collector of t. Fine, accumulator type doesn't matter to me. Fine, and what's the final output it should be generating? It should be generating a int summary statistics. Fine. So this collector which we get from here, fine, this type of a collector, if used in the collect method, would return that object. Okay, ultimately this object, it's not sufficient to just create a collector object. We have to use this object in the collect method of the stream. Okay, fine. So creating collector is the first step, right? So collector which is of this type, the method here is, because the type is int summary statistics, and therefore the method name is summarizing int. Parameter would be, you should be able to guess the parameter. No? It's working on int. Elements in the stream are of type t, but I work on the int derived out of the t. So it's a toInt function on t. Fine. Input is t, output is a int, that kind of a function. So just pass that function. Fine. Like this we have a collector where the TAR, the R would be long summary statistics. Fine. Summarizing long, that's a method name. Parameter, too long function. Right? When it's a toInt function on E, it's what? A toInt function on T, what is it? Nothing but in the type T, some method which returns int. Right? This one requires only one. So when you do this, the collector is created for us. That collector has the four things. Yes, there are those four things. Fine. So you pass only the toInt function and it will create the supplier. It will have a supplier of the accumulator type. You see, our interest is in the result. So what is the accumulator type? We are not interested in knowing that. Fine. Whatever it may use internally. Fine. And then it has an accumulator. and then it has a combiner and a finisher. Fine. The finisher's return is int summary statistics. So that kind of a collector would be created for us. And so we are not worrying about those 4 things. And we don't have to create those 4 items. We just have to give a toInt function. Okay. And so just like we have summarizing to create a int summary statistics, what do we have? Other method we had seen. Okay, I'll just show what collector you will get. You can get a collector of T question mark double. This we had seen yesterday. This would be double is average. Method name is averaging int. Parameter is that same thing. It's a toInt function. Fine. The parameter is going to be the toInt function, toLong function or toDouble function, because you are doing something on a attribute which is of type int long or a double. So extracting that, but that's what the toInt function or the toLong that function is, extracting a int attribute, and that is a method reference. What is the type T colon colon the getter method which gets us the attribute. Fine. Fine. There is a method for counting, averaging, counting and summing. Counting is simple, fine. It doesn't, the counting is just without any parameters. Fine. Counting will return a collector of type T question mark long, the count as a long type. Right? Number of elements in the string, and the count here is counting is number of elements in the string. Okay, and same way we have this one, collector of. Now here it would be summing int, summing long or summing double. Accordingly, the collector is either having a T question mark, and here it would be either a int, so either an integer here or a long or a double type, the summing int, summing long, summing double. Fine. For this, the parameter again is similar to the toInt function. Counting doesn't need a parameter.
So by averaging, counting or summarizing it by int?
The summarist, if someone uses summarizing int, he gets a int summary statistics, and that has all the things. Yes.
Dot count.
Yes, it has dot count. You can do that. Fine, but as a separate method also it is available. Fine. Fine, it may be useful in some other scenarios. Okay. Okay, so summing, fine, counting, averaging, summarizing. Okay, fine, those are the statistics related. Fine, another was we mentioned, fine, we looked at yesterday also, grouping by. See what collector will be returned. When I say grouping by, the collector returned is a collector of T question mark. See, important thing is the last thing, right? The result type. This collector will give me a list of, no, not a list, sorry. This one gives us a map. Okay. So this, the result type is a map. A map which maps some type K. K may be one of the attribute type. Okay, K type is nothing but one of the attribute type on which you want to do the grouping. You want to do the grouping on a attribute type. So K is that attribute type, and this would be, so K, each attribute, find a particular attribute mapped to a list of the type T. Okay, fine. For our example to understand, fine, we can think K is a string which represents the name type, and T is our account type. Fine. Or maybe we've got transactions. Fine, we have got transactions, and someone wants to have, okay, which are all the debit transactions, which are all the credit transactions, or which are the deposit transactions, which are the withdrawal transactions, and which are the penalty transactions. Fine. So it's a map where there are only maybe whatever value we use in the narration. Fine. Oh, that's a narration, and this is the list of transactions which have this narration. Your stream is a stream of all the transactions. Fine. You got a stream of all the transactions, and you'll say, okay, for this, fine, whatever are the different narrations which have been used, pick up a narration and show me what's a list of transactions for that. Fine. So it's grouping by the narration. Fine. Grouping on K. K is a type. Narration, there the narration is of type string. And it could be sometimes be an enum type also. Okay. And so we have, okay, so this one, the method name is, what's the method name? Grouping by. What's the parameter to the grouping by? What's the parameter for the grouping by? Yeah. It's a function from, for each element extract the type K. This we call as a classifier function. Okay. You want to generate a, you want to create a map, fine, where we have the key are the distinct name, fine. So you're saying, okay, I want name wise list of accounts. So this name, what are his list of accounts? This name, what is list of account? That's the map we want. So name is the attribute on which you want to group, and name wise grouping. So we'll say grouping by, it's a name we want to group by. Fine. And therefore what we pass as parameter is a function which extracts the name for a given account. Just give this much. It's going to return a collector where the result will be a map which maps each k type. Here k would be the string type because name is a string type with the list of the type T. It's a stream of account. Okay, so a list of account. This name, what's a list of account? That map is created. So all the names would be covered. Each distinct name. Fine, each distinct name has an entry in this map. The result is a map where for all the names there is an entry, and for each name, for each entry here, we have got its list of account objects. This is the list of account where this name has been used. Fine, on account, fine, all accounts, a same name may have been used in another account also, and same person has multiple accounts maybe, right? If same person has multiple accounts, fine, you want them to be grouped together. Account number may be very far apart, that's fine. Fine. If there is only one, the list will contain only one element. For this name, there is only one. Fine. So there is a list, but it's in a list. It's not single. Okay. So one element of string, one element here. So you find from that point of view, 1 to 1. But the element is a list type. Okay. So list can in turn contain multiple elements. Fine. Fine. Okay, so that's a grouping by. Okay, now a variant of the grouping by. It's a grouping by, but a variation to this. So we can have a collector which is over T. Again, it's going to be a map, mapping with K, but instead of a list, fine, for each name, instead of having a list of the account object, you might say, okay, you might like to have some summarization over that list. Maybe this name, what's the sum of the balances? For this name, what's the sum of balances? So instead, see, it's the list on which it has to work further to generate a summary on the list. You want some further summary on the list. Fine. So whatever you are interested in, that summary, maybe it's an average you want to know, it's a sum you want to know, whatever it is. Fine. It will be a type. That summary is another type. Okay. Let me call it as type S. And that is the S. S is my summarization on the list of T. Okay, fine. So if this, the method is still grouping by, but the parameter passed here, there are two parameters you will have to pass. Okay. First parameter is of course the function, the classifier function from T to K, that's our classifier. Okay, but another parameter, Fine. What is the second parameter? The second parameter says is another collector now. A collector which can summarize the elements of type. Oh, that's a list of T, right? You have to match with what was done earlier, because it is now doing, if what it needs is, see, with the earlier this kind of one parameter, the first parameter, it's going to be able to do this kind of a thing. Now it has to work on that list to generate the summary for it. Okay, so a collector which can summarize that list and generate the type S for me. This is my downstream collector. Fine, we can have two parameters. So if you want what? Only the count. This name, how many account objects? See, you won't just wanted to, oh, this name, what's how many account objects? What you would do here? First parameter, it's a name. So grouping by account colon colon get name. But then we want the count, collectors dot counting. Collectors dot averaging long. Collectors dot, oh, you use the other collector, some other summarization which you want. So it will be mapped with K will be mapped to that summarized. Fine, summarize on that list. Fine, so collector, you pass another collector. Fine. Okay, fine. If you find it may be a good idea to have a mapping of name with long summary statistics. But sometimes someone says, no, I just want the average. Okay, fine. Then you will pass collectors dot averaging long. Fine. The S there would be a double type. Whatever. Summarizing, how you would like. Whatever is the result for that summarizing. Okay, this matches this here. Okay. See, look at this. What is it returning? What's the return type going to be? Result type is a map. Fine, here the result type is a map. Map is interface, right? Which implementation of the interface will be used? If I use a hash map, fine, it's a simple map. If I use a tree map, it's a sorted map. Fine, it's a sorted. So if I am interested in a sorted map, I'm not sure whether it's going to generate, what kind of map it's going to generate. See, in both the cases, you don't have control on which implementation of map will be used by him, because that is done by the method. Grouping by is creating its own, is deciding to use a supplier of map, maybe whatever it is. Right? So what you have an option here is, you can say, okay, I want that particular implementation of map. So you have 3 parameter. There is a version of grouping by where we can pass 3 parameter. So you have it's a second parameter which is added. Okay, so first parameter will be the function, second parameter is the additional one, and this is the third parameter. Okay, so what goes as a second parameter, so another option, what goes in here, fine, let me put it here, okay, is nothing but you can specify a supplier of map of K comma S. So that's the other supplier, the map supplier. This is nothing but the map supplier, sorry. No, it's not a parameter. And your comma and then the third parameter. And so 3 parameters. First is a function, second is a supply, and third is a collector. Not collection, sorry, this is collector. And first is a function, which is the classifier function. Okay. Second is a collector, sorry, not collector. Second is a supplier of the map, and third is the collector. Okay.
मैप सप्लायर में न्यू है इसमें और न्यू ट्री मैप.
हाँ, tree map colon colon new. Recollect constructor reference. It's very simple. Tree map colon colon new. Constructor reference normally will be found for supplier. Okay. Now just think, we have an attribute, or we have, that function which we have, the classifier, it's returning multiple values, but you might have, instead of a class, the classifier may be just saying, okay, true or false. That's a predicate. Fine. So that means, okay, maybe I want a map which has only 2 keys, true and false. Fine. All those current account, let's say it's current account, all those current accounts where the balance is greater than minimum balance is on one side, less than equal to minimum balance is on the other side. And you do a partitioning into 2 parts, one true, other is false. That means the map will have only 2 entries. Fine, one will be true, other is false. Boolean type. Okay. What we have is, instead of saying grouping by, they have a separate method name where you specifically only use a predicate. You can use a predicate. So it's exactly similar thing. You can see, like you get a list of K mapped to a list of T. Instead of K, that's a Boolean. Okay, let me show this method. Okay, so exactly on similar lines, so you should be able to understand this. So you will get a collector of T question mark. Return type is a map, which maps a Boolean to the list of T. It maps a Boolean to the list of T. Yeah, that's a collector here. And name of the method, no, we don't say grouping by, we call it as partitioning. By, and the parameter here is predicate of T. and that's your test. So those who pass the test, they will be stored against true. Those who fail the test will be stored against false. Just like the grouping by. Okay, and therefore, okay, you don't have that third one, but you do have the option of two parameters also. You might have a collector of t question mark map of boolean comma some type S. You will be passing a downstream collector. You don't specify, I want a tree map or anything. You don't need a sorted one here. There are only two entries. Fine. So partitioning by in two forms, okay? One which takes only predicate, another which takes predicate and a collector. Fine. Okay. Fine. There are methods to return collector, whether it result type will be a some other collection type. Okay. Mapping, that's another one called mapping. Yeah, fine. Let's have a look at the API. I think fine. Let's see, there are more things there. Okay. Okay, let's take those methods. Okay. Fine. What are those methods? First three, I think we know this. Averaging. Parameter you can see. It's a 2int function. For averaging in, it's a 2int function. Fine. From of t, that's a mapper. Return type is always double because it's a average. Result type is a double. Okay, fine. Next, I think that's the one which we have not seen. Collecting and then. Fine. So it's going to return a collector of TARR. See, what do we have in a collector? Fourth one is a finisher, which is converting the accumulated thing into a particular result type. It says, okay, fine, let's have one more finisher after that, one more function, which converts that result further into another type. So that's a collecting and then. So you have a regular collector for TAR, which is a fine, it's a downstream collector, and you have a further finisher from which converts from the final result of a collector can be, so you are applying a function on the result further to convert into a from R to RR, and therefore this becomes a collector of TARR. You have a collector, you got some collector already which is returning some result, and from that result I am going to further have a function which converts to another thing. So if you combine the two, you can have a collector from TAR, it becomes a TARR because we have a function from R to RR. So we have a further one more finisher after the finisher. And so collecting and then. Fine, collecting and then. Fine, that's a simple method. Counting, fine, we know this. We have the grouping by, and those grouping by, you can see what is done here. A map of k comma list of t, that's a grouping by. Fine, it requires a function from t to k, the classifier function. Okay, second form is classifier and the downstream collector. D, they have used D, TAD. D is that it's becoming map of k to d. Fine. The downstream collector is on TAD, and then it's the same thing, k to d, map of k to d, but we have a supplier of M map factory where M has a, sorry, they put the it's not visible here because this is a static method, this is M, yeah, M extends map of k comma d. And so it's a bounded type parameter. M is a bounded type parameter, it has to be a map. Fine, M has to be a map of k comma d. Okay, so it becomes a, so what's returned is a collector of कौन सा TKDAM. Okay, these are the type parameters which have been used here. This is a generic method and these are the type parameters for this method. T is the type of the stream, A is the accumulator type, okay, K is the classifiers type.
So accumulated type to question mark.
क्वेश्चन मार्क नहीं रखा है ना इधर, आई थिंक पहले वाले में क्वेश्चन मार्क होगा नहीं. ओके, इन ग्रुपिंग बाय दे हैव नॉट केप्ट इट एज अ क्वेश्चन मार्क. इसमें है नहीं, द कलेक्टर विच इज रिटर्न इन दैट इट इज क्वेश्चन मार्क. द फाइनल रिजल्ट what it returns, yeah. See, here it says collector of T question mark map of k comma d. Fine. Now what he has done here, returns collector of T question mark M, but M is what? Bounded type parameter, which is a map of k comma d. So it's a map of k comma d. See why he has done this? Because we have to specify a supplier. Fine. Fine. The idea is simple, right?
So practical things.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we create some grouping by things. Fine. Okay.
बहुत सारी मेथड आ रही है.
Okay, एक एक करके करते जाते हैं. समराइजिंग एवरेजिंग वो वाला तो हो जाएगा फटाफट. चलो. See, these are nothing but various ways of creating a collector. This is all about how to create collector. Instead of having those 4 components to be defined on your own. Okay. Okay, let's start making the changes now related to the stream. First thing, in the account and bank, I think two places will have changes, major changes, and then we'll go to the test where we'll test out those things, right? Okay, so one thing we would like to add in the account class is a method for getting a stream of transaction. Maybe I'll put it right at the beginning. Okay, so we have this.
Sir, get passbook method.
We have a get passbook method anyway, which returns a list.
सर वो पर unmodifiable है ना, तो सर उसमें string बनेगी इससे?
Yeah, stream is supposed to be giving out. Stream is supposed to be, you don't update on a stream. You use the stream elements which come out from a stream. Fine. Stream is not a data structure. It is working on some source where it is getting the objects from. So we have the public, a stream of transaction, get transaction stream. Fine. And this simple, right? We can just say return. Yeah, what do we return? We can just say get passbook dot stream. On a list, return a stream. Fine. Okay, you can add more methods to the account class. Fine, maybe to make it more meaningful, you can say, okay, let's have a public method returns boolean has negative balance. Fine. See, when I write a method returning boolean, you understand what I am preparing for is a predicate. I am preparing something which can be used as a predicate. Return a simple thing. I am preparing to use method reference. A predicate, find method reference for a predicate. Has negative balance, that check if I want. Yeah, I can just say account colon colon has negative balance. It's a predicate of account. Fine, so that's for the account class. And fine, change for the account class. Let's have a change for the bank class. Okay, let's add here public. What's the method we want? A stream of account, get account stream, yeah, this dot account map dot values, right, dot stream, and that's simple. Okay, now I'll just create a few scenarios here. What we can also do is, let's include the current account. Okay, let's make some additional thing. Current account uses a minimum balance thing. Yeah. So we have a public method returns boolean, fine, which should return has minimum balance, something like that. It is above minimum balance, right, or below minimum balance. That kind of a check we want. And see one thing, this is not a method of account, but it is only for current account. You have a stream of account. You don't have a stream of current account. Okay. Let's check that part also. So this should say return. Yeah. What does it return?
Minimum balance equal to 0.
Yeah. Get balance is greater than or equal to. Let's include equal to here. Okay. Greater than or equal to. Fine. This dot get balance is greater than or equal to the minimum balance. Okay. Fine. So that should be okay. Fine. So we try compiling them. And let's try compiling. Let's compile all. Okay, we haven't used the import for the stream. In both the classes we'll have to put import. Yeah. And return type is a stream. Or not here, sorry, it's in the account. Java dot util dot star, no, it is that stream dot, yeah, stream dot star would work, but it's only stream that we have used from here, and we have not used anything else here. No, that has a lower priority compared to a fixing. Fine, we understand it's a wildcard with import with a wildcard. Okay, fine. If there is some other stream somewhere in some other package, fine, just in case, and that's also a wildcard, then ambiguity can arise. No. Anyway, that doesn't matter so much here. Okay, it won't matter that much, but yeah. And so we normally do it like this: dot stream dot okay. No. In current account we have not used the word stream. We just added up method to return boolean. Okay, so this is compiling. And okay, now we go for test bank. Do we have a test bank? Yeah. Test bank. Yeah, we'll have to do a big thing here. Since we have account number 2, we'll have to create more accounts to do get something in the stream. Fine. We'll have to have more transactions also. Fine. Some more transactions, so that's one thing we'll have to. Yeah. We have only created 2 accounts. So account number 3. Okay, same name, let's repeat same name. Fine, so one name, multiple accounts. Okay, I have only added, there are no transactions on this. Bank dot. Maybe again a savings. And okay. And so create another one which is a current account. Okay, fine. So we got 5 accounts. Okay. There are some transactions in those. Fine. Let's try the. Yeah. Now what do we want? First we try the averaging or summarizing. Let's say summarizing. Okay. Straight away we can go for summarizing, right? So we have an object of long summary statistics. Okay, I'll need an import here. Long summary statistics import java.util. Okay. And long those summary statistics are in. Okay. We'll need things from collector also, right? Collectors, we are using collector and collectors. So import java.util.stream.star. Okay. So long summary statistics, and this is about balance statistics, is equal to, yeah, bank dot get account stream, yeah, dot collect. As a parameter, what we are passing is a collectors dot summarizing long. What's a parameter? That's the end of the collect method, semicolon, done. And let's print I'm going to print this balance statistics. They have a good two-string method where you can see all the 5 things. Right? Fine. So other summarizing, this is summarizing. Fine. Same way averaging or summing on similar lines. Counting is just one value. Oh, how many accounts are there? That's the only thing. Counting would mean, oh, how many accounts are there? Fine. Grouping by? Fine. Example of grouping by. That's like. So, okay. So a map input is there. Yeah. A map of string. It's grouping by name. Okay. Comma. List of account. Okay. That's name wise. Is equal to we have that part common, right? Bank dot get account stream dot collect. The parameter to collect is a collectors dot grouping by. What's a parameter? So simple, no?
So simple.
Then you just have to pass one parameter, the one function, and you get a map. I'll just print that map. System.out.println.
सर इस स्ट्रिंग्स की प्रैक्टिस के लिए जो वेबसाइट आपके ध्यान में हो तो बताना मैंने सर्च किया था हाउ टू डू इन जावा लगे है उसमें थोड़ा एग्जांपल्स थे
अच्छा ओके
बाकी वो बहुत सिंपल है इसमें जो सर आपने वो तो मेथड बताई थी फ्लैट मैप और वो सब उसका तो कहीं भी यूज एग्जांपल मिल ही नहीं रहा है
नहीं किया करेंगे we'll do flat map
नॉट ओनली फ्लैट मैप बाकी बहुत सारी
नहीं ये बोल रहा है
प्रैक्टिस
के लिए
सर प्रैक्टिस के लिए
हाँ।
जो वेबसाइट मैंने देखी ना उसमें एक तो मैप आ रहा है फिल्टर आ रहा है काउंट आ रहा है ये 3-4 बहुत ये सब कॉमन ही आ रहा है
हाँ। अच्छा ये कलेक्ट भी नहीं कर रहे कोई
नहीं सर मेरे को मिल ही नहीं रहा है कलेक्टर्स का भी नहीं ढूंढे मैंने स्ट्रीम्स की बात कर रहा हूँ
हाँ तो स्ट्रीम में ये ना कलेक्ट
नहीं हाँ मतलब कलेक्टर्स डॉट टू लिस्ट वाला है
टू लिस्ट तो करेगा बहुत कॉमन है वो तो लिस्ट में ले लिया
वो
उसको
तो कॉमन ही आ रहा है सर
हाँ
ऐसा सब तो
बट ये होता है
हाँ होता है पर
और एक एक लाइन में काम खत्म कर रहे हैं
पर ऐसे एग्जांपल नहीं मिल रहा है सर
तो हम कर रहे हैं ना ये
ये तो सर ठीक है
अच्छा इतना ही देखना है पहले आउटपुट देन विल ऐड मोर थिंग्स चलो लेट्स कंपाइल विल कंपाइल टेस्ट बैंक कलेक्टर्स स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक हो गया ओके टेस्ट बैंक अच्छा इसको थोड़ा फुल स्क्रीन कर लेते हैं आउटपुट देगा ना ठीक से देखने के लिए. अच्छा, वी हैव टू पास. Fine, you can see what's the output. Okay, it starts here. Long summary statistics. Count is 5. Fine. Sum is, that's the sum. Minimum is this much. Average is this much. Max is this much. And the map, it maps name with a list. So name is James and the list has only one object, right? Name is John, the list has just one object. Fine. The name is Jimmy, that's only one object. Name is Josh and it's got two objects. Yeah. One is a savings account, the other is a current account. So name wise, it's a map. Name wise list. Yeah? Want to see that code again? Okay. Oops.
सर वो डिफॉल्ट सारे सम और सम मिनिमम मैक्स
हाँ?
वो क्यों दिखा रहा है, वो नहीं चाहिए.
We have taken
पूरा पास क्या है ना
long summary statistics. We have taken long summary statistics. So all statistics. That's because of that object. You only want a particular value. So it's exactly same. The output would be double and I'll say balance average. Right? And this would be, this parameter remains the same. Instead of saying summarizing long, you'll say averaging long. इतना सा कोड है बस. बट लॉजिकल है, देखो ना. जस्ट लुक एट, इट्स वेरी लॉजिकल ना. वो खुद से कर रहा है बहुत कुछ. You don't have to do, but that's what is the only input required is just a function like this, and okay, I understand what to do and how to do it.
कलेक्शन चालू हुआ ना तब से मेथड बहुत सारी आ गई, प्रैक्टिस बिल्कुल नहीं हुई.
तो प्रैक्टिस करो ना.
हो गया.
चलो तो प्रैक्टिस करो. फाइन, कर सकते हैं इतना प्रैक्टिस करें. दिस आई विल पुश. इसके बाद आगे के मेथड्स इसके बाद. ठीक है, ठीक है, फुल स्टॉप इधर.